So we come to the final slide, the summary and conclusions of all these 10 points. And these are the points which I've learned from this set of slides. There are more, but I hope I've made the point and that you will appreciate and agree with these conclusions, because I think they're terribly important as we advance our argument for the benefits of a low carbohydrate diet. Firstly, it's important to distinguish true cause from reasons for a condition. And we've got blindsided by epidemiology, which offers all these reasons for a disease but can't tell us what the true cause is. I would say that the failure of cholesterol-lowering drugs to abolish, notice abolish, all manifestations of coronary heart disease indicates that cholesterol is not the causa vera, the true cause of coronary heart disease. And what the cholesterol-lowering studies show is that the lipid hypothesis is false. But you see, they pad it up to say, well, you see that the statins do prevent a few heart attacks, although they don't affect mortality. So therefore, the theory is still true that the lipid hypothesis is correct, that blood cholesterol concentrations cause heart disease. That's not true. The fact is, the statins are meant to remove all evidence of coronary heart disease. And in fact, if you look at the statements of some of the people who promoted these drugs early in the 1990s, they said, well, heart disease will disappear in the early 20th century. And it hasn't. It's got worse, if anything. So that's my interpretation. We've been fooled by our epidemiology friends telling us that these are the reasons. We've got to focus on cause. And if you can't reverse a disease, you don't know what the cause is. And we do not know what the cause of coronary atherosclerosis. All we know is that the lipid hypothesis is false. In population studies, diet is a minor determinant of the blood cholesterol concentration, and I gave you that evidence in the 7-country study and the Framingham Heart study, and there are others as well. So if that is true, even if the lipid hypothesis is true, which is not C2 above, differences in heart disease rates between different populations cannot be due to differences in diet, because the cholesterol values are not determined by the diet. So the diet heart hypothesis is false. And that point is not made enough. So by finding that diet does not determine blood cholesterol concentrations in populations, and populations which may differ in the rates of heart disease, for example, the Japanese versus the Americans, then the diet can't be the factor that explains that phenomenon. And I gave you the Nai-Hon San data showing that Japanese living in different countries have the same mortality despite differences in risk factors. So it's the fact of living in a different country that's the problem rather than the risk factors. Dramatic reversal of supposed major coronary risk factors failed to reverse CHD, all-cause mortality, in the Mr. Fit trial. And that is the most comprehensive trial ever undertaken. It will never be repeated. And so we have to accept the data and ask the question, are risk factors really the cause of disease? The most important dietary change in the US and elsewhere over the past 100 years has been the increased consumption of omega-6 polyunsaturated fatty acids, PUFAs, and not an increased animal fat consumption. And the point of this slide is that the whole basis for the Keyes hypothesis, as promoted by Senator McGovern's Senate committee, was that it had been an increased animal fat consumption that had caused the rates of heart disease to suddenly rise in the United States after the 1920s. And we have evidence that that's absolutely wrong. So the next point is that replacing dietary saturated fats with PUFA is known to cause harm. And that's from the Recover Minnesota Coronary Experiment, from the Recovered Sydney Diet Heart Study, and from the Women's Health Initiative. And my argument is that it's unethical for any medical practitioner to prescribe a diet that is known to cause harm. Anything that is known to cause harm is unethical. And I think that's a point we need to keep stressing. And then finally, the popular explanation of how coronary atherosclerosis develops requires that the coronary arteries have an histological design that they do not have. And that's quite telling that that point has never been made. So thank you very much for your attention over these lectures. I apologize that they went over a bit, but I think that the information I've tried to provide does indicate to you that the idea that fats in the diet cause coronary heart disease is completely fallacious, and there's never been any evidence for that. So we need to look to other explanations, and some of those explanations I've been also covered in these talks. So thanks very much, and best wishes to you all. Bye for now.